Hello everyone and welcome back. In this video, we are going to learn about loops in Python. I'm going to explain the core concepts we need to understand when working with loops. With that being said, let us dive in. A loop is a way of executing a set of instructions in multiple ways. Then in Python, we have two types of loop. We have the for loop and the while loop. I can have my comment here by simply saying for loop. Then here we have while loop. I'm going to start by explaining what for loop is. A for loop is used to iterate over a sequence such as a list, string, or tuple. Let's take for instance, I want to print out some certain numbers. I can use that by simply using the for loop by saying for I in the range of 1 comma 6, then I'm going to print out I. What I have done here is that I want to print out some certain numbers from 1 to 6, but not including 6. That is how the range function works in Python. We have specified our starting point here as 1, then our last number here is 6, but it is not going to include the last number, which is 6. Let me run my file so we can actually see what I'm talking about. Good. As you can see, we have our output here as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that is how the range function works in Python. We are starting at a number here, then we are going to the end of the number, but not including this number. Hopefully that makes sense. So we need to understand that. What if I change this our starting point to 2? So meaning that we are starting from 2 to 6, but it is not going to include 6 as our number or as our output. So that is what it means. Let me run it again. Good. As we can see, we have 2, 3, 4, and 5 as our output. Let me give another example so we can understand better. Let's take for instance, I have for x in a range of 4, then I'm going to print out x. What I have done here is that I'm using the for loop to get some range of numbers from 0 to 4, but it is not going to include 4 for us. That is how the range function works in Python. Since we are not specifying the starting number here, it is going to start from 0 to 4, but not including 4 in our output. Let me comment this one out for us to see our output. Good. As we can see, we have our output here as 0, 1, 2, 3. So meaning that it is starting from 0, but it is not including 4 here as our output. So we need to understand that about the range function. So let us move on and see how we can use for loop to iterate over a sequence. Let's take for instance, we have a list of numbers. I can say numbers is equals to, assuming we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, then I'm going to use for loop to get each individual number that we have stored inside our list by simply saying for num in numbers, then I'm going to print out my num. Let me run my file. Good. As we can see, we have the list of our numbers here from 1 to 7. So let me explain what we have actually done here. This is my list of numbers. Then I am using the for loop to get each individual number that we have here. We are starting from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It is going to loop through each individual number that we have stored. inside our list. Hopefully that makes sense. Let us see another example. Let's see how we can iterate over a sequence. Let's take for example, we have language is equals to Python. Then I'm going to iterate through this my language by getting each individual alphabet by using the for loop. A for loop is being used whenever we know the certain number of operations we want to perform. We need to take note of that. I'm going to say for lang in language. Let me fix this language. Then I'm going to print out my lang. Let me run it so we can actually see our output. Good. As you can see, we have our output here as Python. Let me explain what we have done here. We are looping through each individual alphabet here, meaning that it is going to start looping from P Y T H O N, which is our Python. Then we are printing out our lang here. So that is basically what we are doing here. So we can use a for loop to iterate over a sequence of characters, or we can even use it to iterate over a list. Hopefully that makes sense. So let us move ahead and see how we can work with while loop. Let me comment this one out. I can have it here, while loop. A while loop is used to execute a set of instructions as long as the text expression is true. Let me give some examples so we can understand better. Assuming we want to print out some numbers, I can have my variable by simply saying count is equals to 1. Then I'm going to use my while loop by saying while count is less than 5, then I'm going to print out my count. Then here I'm going to say count plus is equals to 1. What I have done here is that this my count is my variable name and it is being assigned to 1. Then I am using the while loop that says as long as 1 here, which is my count, is less than 5, then I'm going to print out my count. Then inside this while loop, I am adding 1 to my count, which means 1 plus 1. Let me run this by file so we can actually see what I am doing here. Good. We have our output here that says 1, 2, 3, 4. Let me explain again so we can have a better understanding of what is going on here inside the while loop. I am starting at 1, then I am putting some condition here that says as long as this one is less than 5, print count. So meaning that it is printing the 1 here for us. Then it is going to add 1 to it. This line of expression is the same thing as by simply saying count is equals to count plus 1. This is essentially what I am doing. I am adding 1 to the initial count I have stored. Hopefully that makes sense. So that is what I am doing. So at this on stage, our count will be 2. It is going to go back to the loop again and check. While 2 is less than 5, it is going to print out 2. So that is the reason why we have 2 here. And it is going to add 1 to the 2 again, meaning that we have 3. Then go back to the loop again. As long as 3 is less than 5, it is going to print out 3, and so on till the condition is going to be false. So let me give some last example. Let me comment this one. Let's take for instance, I have a variable name that says password. I can have password is equals to Python. Then I'm going to say I can have p. Okay, let's say I have my while loop. Yeah, sorry. I can say while true. I can say p wd as my variable for password is equals to input enter your password. Then I'm going to say if p wd is equals to my password, then I'm going to print out you are logged in. Then I'm going to break. I'm going to explain what break keywords means here. Then else I'm going to say invalid password. What I have done here is that I want to confirm my password, assuming you want to log in to some place or anything. So I have set my password is equals to Python. Then I am using this while loop by simply saying while true, meaning that this condition is going to be true. And the way we are going to exit out from this while loop, it is when we encounter this break keyword. So that is when we are going to stop this loop. I am saying that I'm getting my password using the input function here. Then I'm saying enter your password. Then I am checking if the password the user is giving me is the same as my password here. Then I'm going to print out you are logged in. Otherwise, I'm going to say invalid password. Hopefully you kind of get what I'm trying to do here. Let me run this my file so we can see. Good, we have enter your password. Let me enter 123. As you can see, we have invalid password. Then it is giving us another option to type in our password. Let me enter 890. We have invalid password. Let me enter TYR, just a random text. We have invalid password. So till when I entered Python, that is when we are going to break out of this loop. As you can see, we have you are logged in, and we exit out of our while loop. Let me run it again for us to see. Let me run it again. Enter your password. Let me enter 12. Again, let me enter SD. So as long as we are not inputting this Python, the loop will continue to run until we have this password as our right password that we have set here. Hopefully that makes sense. So let me put ASD again. Then let me put Python. So we have you are logged in. Let me give a recap of what we have actually done here. We have a variable name, which is our Python. We have our variable name here as password. Then the value we have inside this is Python. Then we have our while loop. Then inside this while loop, we are asking the user to give us some text which is going to match the password here. Then we are checking if the password the user is giving us is the same as the password we have set here. Then we are going to print out you are logged in. Then we are breaking out of this while loop, meaning that we have actually got the right password. But if the password is not the same, we are going to print out invalid password. So that is basically what we have done here. Then we are going to wrap up our loop here. If you found this video helpful, please make sure you give it a like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.